Thank you for staying with me on TMI. HERDSMEN and arms bearing is the focus on today's discussion as we interrogate the emerging challenges in that direction. And discussing this with me, starting from my immediate left, I have a public affairs analyst, Alhaji Nuruddin Asunoge. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And next to him is a businessman, a politician, and a former executive director of public affairs and social media to the state government, and of course former deputy director in charge of communications, media and publicity, Godwin Obaseki Campaign Organization, as a chairman farmers, heritage farmers in Edo State, and of course also a chieftain of the PDP. It's great to have you join us, Gregory Gogwa.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while now.
Yeah, it has been.
All right, let me quickly take your reactions over what has been happening so far. The governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, has been in the eye of the storm over his statement on the carrying of arms by herdsmen as a needed thing to do in order to protect their cows. What's your reaction over this that has been hitting the polity?
Well, I mean, his statement was very unfortunate. It was very unfortunate because what it looks like is that he's condoning criminality. There are other ways of protecting your business assets because that's what the cattle are. They are business assets. And I understand the difficulty in transporting a large group of business assets. For example, you want to move 1,000 cows from Bauchi to Benin. 1,000 cows at 200,000 naira is 2 billion naira. Those are 2 billion naira worth of assets. Now, if you, the safest way to guarantee them is to pay insurance. It's called goods in transit insurance. Whether you're moving the cattle by rail, by trailer, or by road. So you pay goods in transit insurance. Now, goods in transit insurance for 2 billion naira worth of assets will be worth something like maybe 20 million naira, thereabouts. That's what you will pay as a premium. Now you will find out that some people, rather than pay that 20 million naira in premiums for insurance, will go and hire mercenaries for maybe 10 million to escort that 2 billion naira worth of assets from Bauchi to Benin. You see, that's why when people talk about the herdsmen, kidnapping and so on, I've asked them, have you ever seen a herdsman kidnapping a victim, putting him on the back of a cow and riding off? Have you ever seen a herdsman riding a cow to block the road and then kidnapping people? The people who do the kidnapping are not the herdsmen. The herdsmen are in the bush. The guys who do the kidnapping and the attacking are the escort team. They are the security escort team for the herdsmen. So if, for example, the herdsmen are in the bush, the security team, who are usually hired mercenaries, are training the herds as security for those cattle, the 2 billion naira worth of assets. If anything happens, if, you know, per chance those cattle graze on a farm, go into somebody's farm and destroy the farm, the villagers attack the herders and attack the cattle, which are assets. The usual practice is that they wait until the herders themselves and the cattle have moved away from that area. Then the security backup team will attack that community and exact revenge. So that the next time that a convoy or a herd of cattle is coming through, the villagers will not be prone to attack them. That is the methodology of what has been happening. So when they say that it is the herdsmen that are doing the attacking, they are quite wrong. Because it's not possible for you to ride a cow to go and kidnap and then carry the victim on the back of the cow or something and ride into the bush.
Okay, you're giving a different narrative in all of this, but let's get to hear you and the statement credited to Bala Mohammed and the aspect of arms bearing by herdsmen. He just gave a different narrative. What do you think about that?
Well, thank you. I think the statement coming from Bala Mohammed, when viewed peripherally, you are quick to draw the conclusion that it is lachrymose, most unfortunate. But I think it's consistent with the nature of Bala Mohammed. We are in a society where those who have been implicated in the defalcation of our collective patrimony are still those who have the opportunity to superintend over our affairs. Yes, as a lawyer, I know that it was mere allegation. But in civilized climes, the likes of Bala would not test political authority when there were things, insinuation that he was lean in integrity. Do not forget that until he got elected and he had immunity, he was facing charges for peculating public resources. And so when he made the statement, you would say infantile. But again, it was a statement that was deep-seated, a statement that mirrors the Hebraistic nature of the stock that he belongs. One of the criteria with which you define the average person who is of that stock is that they are pathologically Hebraistic. And that's basically what it is.
So meaning what?
Meaning imperious, arrogant.
Oh.
That was an arrogant statement. Take the herdsman. It had become a metaphor for criminality. Even Bauchi is not immune from the activities of those persons. Whether there are mercenaries who are back up, whether it is the herdsmen that are whatever, you don't luxate the activities of the supposed mercenary from the activities of the herders. And so, when you deliberately, they are human beings. So there is nothing that is fortuitous about what they do. When you deliberately guide your herd of cattle into some other person's farm, watch them consume whatever that follows as a corollary to that particular activity that you have been involved in, you are not escapable. You are as guilty as whoever came to fire the arm ultimately. And so the point is clear that except that we choose to pretend, we choose to be parsimonious with the truth. Not even Bauchi, that is predominantly a Fulani state, not even Sokoto, not even Katsina, where Mr. President comes from, can people access their farms. The problem basically is the problem of elders and the farmers. And so it's a serious enough problem.
Okay.
And if you have issues, the least you would have expected from someone like Bala Mohammed, who occupies a position of high visibility, was to say, what do we do? You see, language is powerful. It could build, it could incinerate an entire society. It will equally mean that everybody is at liberty. The farmers too should go get arms.
Absolutely.
The farmers too should go get arms.
Absolutely.
And what kind of society is he talking? He can't preside over a state when we have anarchy. And that is the recipe. When you were to evaluate the statement that he had made, and made so arrogantly, and is not apologetic about it. He's not more of a Fulani, in my own opinion, than the governor of Kano State is.
Okay, we are looking at what the president, the leadership of the Federal Republic of Nigeria did say. Because way back before now, the president did say that anyone caught with illegal arms should be arrested and prosecuted. But Gregor Gogwa, does it seem that the security operatives are disdaining this order, or what's happening?
Philip, you see, as much as possible, when one looks at a challenge, I think we should look at it as holistically as possible. The issue of farmers and herdsmen didn't start today. Cain and Abel in the Bible is a story of farmers and herdsmen clashing. Let me point out something to you. I'm glad that you're a lawyer. You might understand that in the Nigerian laws from 1902, grazing routes were established by law under the colonial government. Some of these grazing routes come all the way from Kenya, across West Africa, into Nigeria, and all the way to Lagos. They follow the rivers, all the way, River Kande, River Niger, River Benue, River Ogun, Cross River. They follow the rivers. Now,
Okay, what do you want me to do about it? Give us light. That's the only thing you've been saying since you came into my office. Maybe your work be that. my work, but see.
Our government fit do their work if we sef do our own work. No just sit down. Carry wetin dey worry you go meet who suppose solve am.
We're delighted to have you join us here on Law and You on Independent Television. What amounts to defamation?
Defamation is something done, something said to injure the reputation, the character, and the standing of the particular person.
Criminal Justice Administration is governed first by the Constitution of Nigeria, because some provide that every Nigerian is entitled to be protected with his fundamental human rights.
Enforcement means that there is an existing law, and that law has to be carried out, implemented.
Thank you for staying with me on TMI Tuesday. Herdsmen and arms bearing is the focus on today's discussion as we interrogate the emerging challenges in that direction. And discussing this with me, starting from my immediate left.
Do you expect them to be effective? These people are moving the cattle through the bush. In the days that those laws were made, we had native authority police, which is where we are getting to now, state police, local government police. They were the ones that used to stop the herds coming in and tax them as they were coming into the boundaries. The native police, they were the ones doing that job. So if you don't have native police, who is going to see when the herdsmen are passing, the local government boundary or the state boundary? When the police themselves are overstretched.
Okay,
they are on the roads, the herders are in the bush. And if they leave the roads, the armed robbers will take over the roads.
Okay, we hear about some saying that the government seems to be insensitive to this issue, mostly as regards to the herdsmen. And the Northern Herders Forum just recently said that the president should really find a lasting way to resolve this issue. And now, for us to have challenges where religious tension, ethnic rivalry is witnessed, do you see the president or the leadership as insensitive in this matter?
Well, it will depend on the perspective from which the individual will want to look at it. The president may not be loquacious, but that's not to say that he's not bothered about the things that are happening. Unfortunately, because he's so taciturn, perhaps one of the attributes of the Fulani man, a number of persons have elected to speak on his behalf. Those who say they are his spokespersons. Others have been given clearly, whoever bears arm, arrest. But in the theater of these barbarities, it's either that the security operatives are missing or they are overwhelmed, like he rightly pointed out. And so they are unable to do a number of things. When we are not able to isolate ourselves, we are driven by sentiments and emotion, we run into serious problems. The Fulanis represent a significant segment. They run an economy that we cannot open our eyes and say it must shut down.
Okay, but we are not talking about the Fulanis actually. We're talking about the herdsmen.
No, because they are principally persons who are
not singling out.
No, I'm not doing that. I want to give you an example.
All right.
That because we have done this stereotyping, when the issue of Ruga, or by whatever name it went, came, a number of persons said, no, we do not subscribe to that. We don't have a land to give. We said, if we had done all of this, if we bought into this, it will stimulate the economy. If you did ranching, like he said in 2.0 whatever, there were these laws, and all those laws have become antiquated. Not even in the United States of America. A number of cities, particularly in the southern part of America, went to war between farmers and herders over the issue, because an average herder, or one who is into animal husbandry, is one who is intoxicated with violence. You know why? The reason is simple. When a farmer loses an aspect of his farm, whatever, he does not lose the totality of all that he has. Just take the example he gave to you. 2 billion worth of cattle.
That's a huge investment.
Once they are gone, it is ground zero or worse than that. And so you can expect the degree, the kind of bellicosity, the kind of fury, the Cylonic water you find with people who are into animal husbandry.
Is that not why the system should change? Is that not why there should be a ranching?
It explains why we should have had ranching. Yeah. When this idea was propped up, a number of persons said, no, we don't want ranching. We don't have land. If you want it in Sokoto, put it in Sokoto. If you want it this. All of this would have, if you had one, for example, like Ogbomudia had one.
Not one, he had 5.
When I say one, is a metaphor. In the old bend there, we had the Obudu Ranch. The cows that were gotten from whatever were so beautiful. Look at what Saraki did in Kwara with the Zimbabwean farmers who were sent away. You need to see the cattle that they have there, and you need to see how it has stimulated local economy. Those were all of the benefits we would have gotten. But today people are saying, oh, we cannot do ranching, we cannot do X, Y, Z. Even if you had the trailers, moving them from Sokoto, from Katsina to Edo, for example, they are not going to be put in one place. If you are not going to provide them food where you have kept them, it will mean they will still walk about. So the only thing you have is that there may be less friction between Sokoto and whatever. There are a number of states that may not be affected.
So to you, ranching is the way forward?
Oh, ranching is the way forward. That's what has been done world over.
Okay, we seem to be surrounded, Gregory Gogwa. Yeah. You have held positions in the state government, and you've always holding up ideas with the executive governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. Now, we seem to be engulfed, surrounded by all of this menace in Edo State. And some are saying that it seems the governor is not doing anything about it. What do you think?
That's not true. That's not true. As far back as, I think it was 3 years ago, 2018, the governor set up an inquiry with the Edo State House of Assembly, in conjunction with the Edo State House of Assembly. And a lot of, just like my brother here just pointed out, a lot of opinions were given, and we rejected the idea of a ranch. And we pointed out at that time that Ogbemudia had established one ranch in Abudu, one in Agenegbode, one in Ekperi, one in Asaba, one in, I think, Warri. There were 5. Now, the leather from the cattle from there were supplied to Bata Shoes and Leonard's to make school children's shoes. The meat from there was sold to UAC to make gala. In those days, the milk was sold to all the co-op stores and all the Midwest guest houses across Edo State. You know, and so on and so forth. So we had viable industries that were emanating. The bone meal was used to create animal feed.
Okay.
Now, what I'm trying to say is this. The governor has also set up a new mechanism now, which is called the data capture, which is to capture the data of everybody.
Okay, like a census.
You see? And that is part of a move to be able to identify the people, where they are, what they are doing, and what assets are required for that area, including security, including local security. You have seen the creation of the local vigilante groups. This is to
I was coming there. I was coming there because even if the last time I checked, they were even saying that they seem to be lacking adequate funds to really hit the ground running.
It's not necessarily the funds at times. At times, it's also the mapping out of their areas of jurisdiction and how to deploy them. And the fact that you're going to have to use police supervision. And I just pointed out to you that there's a paucity of security forces, even in Edo State. Now, But going forward,
there's a positive.
Yeah, we don't have enough.
Okay.
We don't have enough. We have maybe, like I said, maybe 10,000, and we have about a population of 5.2 million.
Yeah.
How does that adequately secure Edo State?
And that's why we should look into the joint
Local
vigilance.
security.
Yes.
So,
Which the governor is looking into.
Yes,
but
and then the use of
we need to see positive outcomes
yeah,
from
there's
all
also,
of this.
There's also a drive to use
initiatives.
technology. There's also the drive to use technology, which is to use drones overhead to monitor the forests and the bushes. Now, that is a very innovative concept, because a lot of people haven't thought about it, that you could use 2 drones to cover most of Edo State, and you'll be able to spot where anybody is in the forest.
Okay, what's the governor doing at present concerning the joint vigilante in Edo State?
I know that they are being funded, they are being funded, and they are being retrained. And there's a special constraint because of the COVID-19 protocols. The amount of officials that can be trained at once is much less than what they would have liked to do.
Okay.
And because of that, their deployment is not as fast as one would have, as Mr. Governor would have appreciated.
Okay.
But it is ongoing, and we're beginning to see the effect. You see what happened down Ekenwa Road recently? Another one happened somewhere around Aviele or something. So you can actually already begin to see the effects of these people being flushed out of the forest. And like I said to you, you'll be surprised at some of the evidence that is coming out.
Okay, with the efforts of the state government, are you saying and assuring that the citizens, indigents, residents of Edo State can sleep with their 2 eyes closed?
I mean, I cannot say that.
Okay.
I can't say that.
Okay.
All I can say is that security is everybody's business.
Okay.
Everybody has to maintain vigilance and then report as quickly as possible when you notice that something out of the ordinary is happening around you.
There are reports that the state governors seem to be threatened by some limitations in terms of really containing such issues about some armed herdsmen in their states. Do you concur?
Well, there will always be limitations. They are there, paucity of fund or poor management of funds. But sometimes some want to play to the gallery without doing an in-depth analysis of what the problem is. When Akeredolu, the governor of Ondo State, went on air to say all of the things he said, we said, beautiful statement, but it would have been said in a much better way.
Okay.
You do not, for example, tell the enemy that you are coming, who is already intrepid, who does not care about whatever. All that will happen is that you get fortified. Last Thursday, parents were in all the schools in Owo, retrieving their children and war for fear of possible reprisal.
Yeah.
The Amotekun was in the forest after this person, and they came back, destroyed a whole lot of things, because these are persons who are highly fortified. They have a commitment that you don't find with some other person. These persons have an unwritten code that they have subscribed to. It's a code that intoxicates them. It is that you must always, it is when you are going to die, die as a man. And these are persons whose love, whether they own it or they are superintending it on behalf of another person, they are besotted with emotion when it comes to the issue of the cattle. And so life for them does not make sense. The approach has to be, like he did say, we need more of technology. It is not the issue of the number of men. Of course, that will cost money. Okay. And again, you will need to seek a way to look at who engages these people. It's a structure that is hierarchical. Once you are able to get at the leadership, take what Gumi is doing in the up north, able to win the confidence of these persons and talking to them. Is it possible for us to do the same? So when you say, why is Governor A not talking? They have a governors forum. And I expect that all of the governors, when you take an aggregate of what they get as security vote in a month, it runs into billions.
Do you expect them to be effective? These people are moving the cattle through the bush. In the days that those laws were made, we had native authority police, which is where we are getting to now, state police, local government police. They were the ones that used to stop the herds coming in and tax them as they were coming into the boundaries. The native police, they were the ones doing that job. So if you don't have native police, who is going to see when the herdsmen are passing, the local government boundary or the state boundary? When the police themselves are overstretched.
Okay.
They are on the roads, the herders are in the bush. And if they leave the roads, the armed robbers will take over the roads.
Okay, we hear about some saying that the government seems to be insensitive to this issue, mostly as regards to the herdsmen. And the Northern Elders Forum just recently said that the president should really find a lasting way to resolve this issue. And now, for us not to have challenges where religious tension, ethnic rivalry is witnessed, do you see the president or the leadership as insensitive in this matter?
Well, it will depend on the perspective from which the individual will want to look at it. The president may not be loquacious, but that's not to say that he's not bothered about the things that are happening. Unfortunately, because he's so taciturn, perhaps one of the attributes of the Fulani man, a number of persons have elected to speak on his behalf. Those who say they are his spokespersons. Others have been given clearly, whoever bears arm, arrest. But in the theater of these barbarities, it's either that the security operative are missing or they are overwhelmed, like he rightly pointed out. And so they are unable to do a number of things. When we are not able to isolate ourselves, we are driven by sentiments and emotion, we run into serious problems. The Fulanis represent a significant segment. They run an economy that we cannot open our eyes and say it must shut down.
Okay, but we are not talking about the Fulanis actually. We're talking about the herdsmen.
Because they are principally persons who are
not singling out.
No, I'm not doing that.
I
want to give you an example.
All right.
That because we have done this stereotyping, when the issue of Ruga, or by whatever name it went, came, a number of persons said, no, we do not subscribe to that. We don't have a land to give. We said if we had done all of this, if we bought into this, it will stimulate the economy. If you did ranching, like he said in 20 whatever, there were these laws, and all those laws have become antiquated. Not even in the United States of America. A number of cities, particularly in the southern part of America, went to war between farmers and others over the issue because an average
people. The people who bring it from the north, just bring it, hand it over to the owners in Edo State. A lot of the elite in Edo State own well over 100,000 head of cattle.
Okay, I think we're going to have more editions of this program to look at into that and in-depth discussion. But before I let you go, I think Alhaji Nuruddin, you happen also to be a lawyer. I think that escaped me in a moment. So let's look at your final words on this as it pertains to herdsmen and arms bearing.
Well, the appeal will be to those of you in the media that you represent the oxygen with which every conflagration would continue to combust. And so if you don't supply it, it will starve. If there are pieces of information that will not edify and develop our humanity, let the media kill it.
Okay.
Once you give currency to it, we are cascading the precipice.
Thank you for your articulation and your presence. We value this. Okay, your final words on this, Gregor Gogwa.
Well, I'd like to say that
as a businessman, as a politician, and as a farmer.
I think we should all take a deep breath.
Okay.
And pay more attention to the details, and not just put everything in one big category and then blacklist it. I think we should be more detailed, more analytical, and then more open.
Okay.
More open. That's what I say. And above all, please keep safe. COVID-19 is real.
Thank you very much, Prince Gregor Gogwa, for taking our time, and big thanks again, Alhaji Nuruddin Sunugie.